Welcome to Talkin Shop, Episode 1. I'm Joe Haney. This is Randy Carruthers, LMT Defense Sales Rep and Product Extraordinaire. He's going to be helping me today to go over stocks. We are going to talk about the different offerings that you can get from LMT Defense. So we'll kick it off. Randy, if you want to let us know about our first product today.
Sure, yeah. So generally speaking, this is the first stock we're going to talk about. This is just, we call it our standard MilSpec stock. Many of you in the AR-15 industry, really the firearms industry, if you've been following ARs for a long time, you're pretty familiar with this guy. It wasn't until, maybe 15 years ago that we really started seeing rapid changes to this. But this is a standard MilSpec stock. It's pretty basic. It just slides on and off your tube. It's regular adjustment. There's really nothing special about this. No bells and whistles. In fact, we came out with this as an option to have an option in our alignment in our lineup that was more affordable. It wasn't, if someone's just looking for a basic butt stock.
Right. And I believe the only complete weapon systems that this stock comes shipped on is the standard M4 and the Defender model. The Defender, if you don't know, is M-LOK carbine MRP, so that's the monolithic rail platform in M-LOK, and it has a 16-inch barrel, but bare bones M4 type MilSpec lower.
Non-ambidextrous.
Non-ambi lower. So good platform to get you into the LMT brand right there. So
moving on from that, this one is fairly popular in the industry. This is the famous SopMod stock. This is actually an older design, and this predates me coming here by quite a while. So actually, maybe Joe can talk about this one, because this one's missing some features that the current design actually has.
This one will get the fanboys jonesing right here. This is the Gen 1 SopMod. So this one was, you're talking back to like 2000s, 2004, back when SopMod, the original program, really kicked off. And that's where LMT got going with the program. We were the original distributor for the LMT SopMod. This one actually is outfitted with a Knight's Armament QD swivel. It's a bolt-in model that goes right there in the standard sling loops, because this one did not come with any sort of QD attachment. All you had was these little holes right here to improvise a QD attachment, because at the time QD slings weren't really popular. You had to use a standard sling. So that's what we got going on this one. Pretty neat.
Battery tubes.
Yep, your standard battery tubes. They come out, they lock in. So when it's on the rifle, you can't accidentally remove these.
You actually have to take the stock off, don't you?
You got to take the stock off, and then you can pull it off. I believe they take double A's is the biggest. You could throw triple A's in there. You can put some sort of cleaning supply in there, like cleaning rods, Skittles, whatever's important to you and your mission. So, Skittles is obviously my important feature. Then there's the second option. This is as they ship today. So pretty much every complete Mars rifle, everyone that doesn't get a PDW ships with the standard SopMod stock. It has built-in QD swivel right there. It's a two pieces iron. It's pressed together. There are a lot of fakes of this model, and I wish I had an example of a fake one, but one of the key places to look is on that QD. A lot of times they'll just mold in a little aluminum insert. That's a good idea, or a good spot to see if you have a genuine LMT SopMod.
Yeah, and you should also look for the LMT markings. There's patent information molded into it.
And some of them you could just tell by eyeballing it doesn't look right. So moving on, we'll jump into the DMR stock. I'm gonna leave it off for a second.
Why don't we actually slide? One thing about the DMR stock, a lot of people don't know, it's actually pretty simple precision stock. A DMR, designated marksman rifle. But one of the cool features about the DMR stock is its installation. So unlike some of the competitors out there, when you're buying precision stocks, you got to take the whole assembly apart,
switch it over to an A2 tube or an A1 style without the spacer.
Whereas we use just the standard MilSpec regular
6-position stock. So all you gotta do is you have an adjustment button right there. That button, when you pull it down and out of the way, that releases the pin similar to the lever. So all we gotta do here
There you
slide
go.
on.
That's it.
That and then the neat thing is while you have that, you have your position adjustments. So you can move this gross adjustments on the tube, and then you have the fine adjustments on the stock itself.
Right.
So you can really manipulate this the way the shooter sees fit.
Yeah, we actually like the whole concept with how low profile and slim this is. So unlike these designs where you got this big lever, it's just a small little button you can move up here. A lot of guys like this stock. It's got the same bevel and cheek weld profile as our traditional SopMod.
Yep.
So it's really comfortable. It also actually has this feature, so you can adjust the cheek weld up and down. You can adjust the length, fine adjustments on the butt pad here. It also has this spot here. We'll roll in some footage, but you could remove this bottom panel, and there's a little Picatinny slot
for a monopod.
So if that's your thing, you're into monopods, you've got that option as well. The DMR actually comes in 2 different length variations. We have a 5.56 DMR, and then we have the 308 DMR. Yep. Pull that off. I'll actually just show the difference, I guess.
Yeah, so you can see here that you can swap the 5.56 and the 308 back and forth between the 2 weapon systems. So if you were to purchase one, it would be able to be accountable on both systems. This really plays into the modularity of the Mars rifle. You can quick change your barrels. You can go from a 20 to a 13.5 on the 308. Yep. On the 5.56 platform, you can go to a 16 down to a 10.5 inch when you're utilizing the shorter, the CQB upper receiver. Yep. So you can really quick change your system, and with the stock, you can enhance that and really go from a DMR setup to a CQB setup in a matter of moments. So
yeah, if you're running
no tools.
Yeah. So I guess if you're running, I didn't even think about that actually. So if you're running this lower, this 5.56 lower, right, and you're running a SopMod on it, and you're running a barrel that's like a 16 or maybe a 10.5, and you're like, all right, I'm going to throw my 20-inch barrel in. Right. So you chuck your 20-inch barrel in, and now I'm actually going to chuck my DMR stock on there. And now you've just transformed your gun completely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a very neat feature. And what we'll do is we'll cover the PDW in here in a second, but I think this is a good segue into buffer tubes. So these are pretty popular in our retail sales on our website with dealers and stuff like that. People like genuine LMT buffer tubes, and you do get what you pay for. They may be a little bit more expensive than what you'll find on wish.com, but hey, it's LMT, man. I mean, if you're not about that life, then wish.com is the place for you. So go ahead and give them a like and a thumbs up and go over there and shop. But anyways, so what we've got here are 2 tubes. You can see, and hopefully we can zoom in on the differences there. Yeah. You can see the height difference. The taller of the 2 is obviously for the 308. The shorter of the 2 is our 5.56. They both run 6 positions on the bottom, as you can see. Very simple. And what's neat is they both run the same size buffer. Now, the 308 comes from the factory, and the only way we suggest it running is with an H3 buffer. Right. But the reason why they run the same buffer is we have a longer tube, so we get a little bit more stroke from the carrier size difference, the actual carrier length. That's where the length of the tube is different. So when you are building a gun for the first time, or maybe experimenting with some other stuff, make sure to use a 5.56 on a 5.56 receiver, and then the 308 tube on a 308 receiver. Now this is where we get into some, your mileage may vary. Some people like to pick up one of these for the Voltor A5 system.
I was just gonna say that. Like we get calls all the time about people grabbing basically they're buying the Voltor A5 and they've got this tube, and then they run into problems.
So you can use this in certain circumstances. It all depends on the buffer. It all depends on your receiver and stuff like that, because there's timing issues. This isn't the exact same size as the Voltor tube. It's just a hair smaller. What I've seen a lot of guys do is they'll trim it up on the bushing of their buffer, and they can make it work. But there are a lot of people that pick these up. Now, I would highly suggest, if you're going to go with the Voltor A5, go all Voltor. Those guys over there, great company. They make a very neat product. The big difference there, why you would run this is, you put this on a 5.56, we're talking about carrier length. Obviously, if you're running this buffer in this tube, you're going to have a lot more travel. And that's a problem with your carrier. It'll run into the top of the upper and the back of the receiver. Bad news for your gun if that happens. So what they do is they make a longer buffer to take up that carrier travel length. When you have a longer buffer, now you can do what? Load it up with more weight. So you can go from having an H3, which has 3 tungsten weights, to an H5, which has 5 tungsten weights. That's going to slow your recoil speed down.
A lot of guys will grab that as an option, especially when shooting suppressed. They want to slow down some things. So.
Right, suppressed or a hot gas system.
Yep.
But that's what we got right there for the buffer tubes.
Talk a little bit about the actual profile of the notch, because we actually get I get customers calling in quite often, and they'll ask like, okay, well, can I run a regular tube if they're building a gun? Maybe they just picked up.
So one of the things you'll notice, and I hope I can get this on the camera, maybe we'll roll some B-roll over it, but you can see that the tab, the buffer retaining detent tab is off center. That is designed like that. The MilSpec one comes in right behind the detent.
Right.
And that's just an ease of manufacturing.
Right.
But the neat thing about the way we do ours, and they work really good on LMT lowers because they're all timed. Right. This thread here is machined to be timed. So every buffer tube, doesn't matter if it's 308 or 556, goes the same place on there. What it does is it nests against the buffer detent. So if you were to have a catastrophic failure, had to disassemble the gun the hard way and take the buffer tube off, the receiver extension off, when you make one full revolution, that tab's not coming into contact with the buffer detent.
Correct.
It'll end up skirting behind it, which allows you to disassemble the weapon after catastrophic failure. You're not going to have that with LMT, but we highly suggest it for other models of firearms or something like that.
It's the little things too. It's the little things.
It is. You know, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. You know,
but along with that, some people ask because right now we're out of stock, as you might have guessed, but some people ask, can I run a regular tube? Because the lowers are timed with these tubes. Can they run a regular tube in our lowers? And the answer is yes.
You can.
You just run into the same. I mean,
the timing issue.
Just like any other tube. It either comes up short or over.
One thread in, one thread out.
But most of the time, you're probably not going to run into any problems using a regular tube.
Right. The one thing to be cautious of is when you do it, make sure that you don't run your buffer tube too far in, because when you close the upper, it'll actually contact this. This will protrude from the lower receiver.
Correct.
So,
one other thing, just because it's worth mentioning, you'll also notice on our buffer tubes there is this gray coating. So this is our dry film lube, our DFL coating.
Yep.
We actually coat all of our buffer tubes this way and the inside of our upper receivers.
Right.
Important thing to note is that it will scratch off. We'll roll in some footage. So
it does scratch off.
It's designed to actually work as a lubricant.
It's a lubricant.
So on the inside of your upper, it's gonna scratch off. Sometimes I get calls from customers, hey, like the paint or the finish on my buffer tube is scratched.
Some cleaning chemicals are too caustic, and it'll just take it straight off. So if you're gonna clean your gun with something, don't use mineral spirits or acetone or anything like that on this DFL. It'll take it straight off. Yeah, it'll take it straight off. So just a little bit of oil enhances that DFL, but it is a dry film lube. It is meant to wear down. So when you see it, from your stock traveling back and forth, don't freak out. That's normal.
Yep.
So, and you might be wondering what this little guy is over here. So hand those to you.
Yeah.
This is our PDW tube. So you might be asking me, Joe, how can I fit this into there? Well, the answer is you can't. You have to go to the special buffer system. So what we've done, this is the PDW tube for this guy right here.
Maybe pull the spring out.
Yeah, we'll do that. As you see this little guy based off the SopMod profile. And what I will do is pull the spring out real quick for you.
The spring's even different as well.
Yeah, the spring and the buffer, both different. So what we've got is a little bitty buffer. So you can see the size difference here.
Right.
Now to make that up, because obviously there's no weight inside this, to make that up, what we've done is we've taken the weight and we made it a carrier insert.
Yeah.
So you snap this in the back of your bolt carrier group, any MilSpec bolt carrier group, from any manufacturer, doesn't matter. And this is your anti-bounce properties. So you can run this thing full auto if you want to. No issues there. And it keeps the the cycle rate down and the carrier speed down to normal manageable areas. And
because otherwise you just don't have enough travel.
Yep. Went with
or resistance.
Yeah, absolutely. Went with the flat wire spring, so you don't get that maximum spring height when it's fully collapsed.
Yeah.
This allows the spring to collapse on itself and nest a little bit easier and get more travel out of it. So this does provide proper carrier travel and operation when you have this insert in your carrier. So this is how we can get a super small PDW.
And that's why it's sold in a kit, because sometimes I get people, why don't you sell this separately? Well, I mean, I could sell you just the PDW stock, and maybe you could slap it on one of these regular tubes, but it's kind of pointless because it's not going to go any further. I mean, it's essentially going to bottom out on the back of the end of the stock, and you're just going to have a shorter stock that sticks out there. So
So basically what you're going to get is something like that,
like that. And I mean, I guess if that's your thing, whatever.
But you're not getting any benefits over the standard stock.
Right.
You know, the travel is still there. So.
Right.
The PDW stock is sold in a kit. When you get it, you get the end plate, the QD end plate, the castle nut, spring, buffer, and the insert ready to go for installation on your thing. So
one question, because I get it sometimes, and maybe we should talk about it. The compatibility with running this on like a long folder, is that possible?
It is possible on a law folder, only in a semi-auto mode. Okay. So in a law folder, what you're doing is you're putting an insert, because I mean, if you look at like the buffer still is in the same place.
Right.
You know, carrier travel is still the same.
Right.
So on the law folder, all it's doing is that little insert is making up for the difference in the gap that the law folder adds. But what it doesn't have, it's a solid piece of steel, I believe, and it has approximately the same weight. It doesn't have the anti-bounce feature. It doesn't have any weight inside movable that acts like a dead blow hammer, so it prevents carrier bounce when you run a full auto. Every gun really gets carrier bounce, but you only really see the failures presented by carrier bounce in full auto. So yes, you can run the PDW the law folder on our PDW system. We actually have a department down in Florida that is running them, so it is a good, reliable system on semi-auto.
Don't be afraid to do it.
Don't be afraid to do it. Make your PDW even smaller. Collapse that stock in, backpack it, do whatever. Yeah. Do whatever makes you happy. So.
Yeah, that's really it. That's all the stocks that we have at the moment. They're all manufactured here. Maybe you can talk about the manufacturing process.
Absolutely, that's something to touch on. So we don't do any molding here in-house. We machine aluminum and steel and stuff like that, but we don't do any plastic molding. So these are all our design. There are some SopMods out there from other companies, and they make a great product too, but ours is the original. So this is our mold. It actually says LMT and has our patent number on it. So you're not going to see that being a mold that's widespread throughout the industry. They are individualized per brand. So they are our stocks. The same with the DMR. It is molded LMT, and there is nothing else like it on the market. So we do all the machining in-house. That's one thing that people don't realize is when you get a molded part, it's not ready to go. It needs to be drilled. It needs to be milled. There's,
touched up, cleaned sometimes.
Exactly. Yep. There's work that needs to be done to these, especially on the DMR. It's riveted together. It's got all these QD swivels into it, and it needs to be assembled. So we do all the assembly, all the additional milling here in-house. So it is a handmade part still in the United States.
Before we go, about the DMR. Currently, right now on the website, for those of you guys that are still watching this, this guy, which is the 5.56 model, again, as you can see, it actually looks pretty decent. I don't think it looks that bad on 308 platforms or 6.5 platforms like this one. This is on sale. Not the rifle, unfortunately, but the stock, the 5.56 version of the DMR stock right now. So if you prefer that, you want to run it on either a 308 gun that you're having, or not just LMT or whatever. If this gap doesn't bother you.
Right. And then one thing to keep in mind is DPMS owners or people who use the same platform. The DPMS weapon system uses a shorter buffer on the 308 and the standard 5.56 tube. They built theirs a little bit different. That's why when you're building a 308, try to stick brand specific.
Right.
Don't intermingle.
So
the
you won't
brands.
have this gap if you bought this stock and put it on a 308 DPMS.
Yeah, if you have a DPMS, you'll want the 5.56 LMT stock.
Yep.
And that's going to be one of the best ways to spice up your DPMS, believe you and me. So
yeah, so it's on sale right now. Go online, go to the website, check it out.
Absolutely.
We are out of stock on the 308, but we're hoping to get some of those in soon. But currently we're running a pretty killer sale on these.
Yep,
So
and that's while supplies last, guys. That there is a time frame on that. So if you're seeing this video in the future, away from that sale, sorry, it is a thing. But hey, these do go on sale, routinely throughout the year. So we hope you enjoyed the video for demonstration purposes. If you didn't catch that sale, so thank you for that. But I think that's about it. So
like, subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Hit the bell wherever it's at on here somewhere. If you have comments, we're going to be doing these videos once a month.
Yep.
Talking shop. Sometimes it won't be about product. It'll be about theory. We'll be talking about what upper receiver is best for your build and when to use them. The enhanced bolt carrier group, we get asked those questions all the time. So I think we're going to make one good video, put that one to bed, and say, hey, here's a video, go check it out. But enhanced bolt carrier group, what is it? What is it designed for? And when to use it in your gun. So if there's anything else that you'd like to hear us talk about in Talkin Shop, hit us up in the comments below, and we'll make sure we get it on the schedule. We absolutely listen to what the customers' feedback says, and that's part of our commitment to the LMT customer base. So I think that's about it, Randy.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. So thanks for joining us today, guys, on Talkin Shop. See you next time.